Well, they should have, as Jamie said, gone 1 or 2 up in the first half. They were creating big moments. It was always going to be tough for them, but it's a great performance from Bournemouth. It really was.
Well, Arne Slot has made his way to join us. Arne, thank you so much. Congratulations on the victory. We will talk about the football, but it's important that we get your thoughts on the report that Antoine Semenyo gave to the officials alleging racist abuse. What was said over on the benches? And I know you made a point of going over to speak to Semenyo at the end of the game.
Yeah. No, I think the club made a clear statement. We don't want this in football. We don't want this in a stadium to happen. But especially not at Anfield. So we should talk about that. We should talk about maybe that for a long time, because it's unacceptable that something happens like this in a stadium, let alone at Anfield. And that unfortunately gets the shine off. I don't know if that's really good English, but because our fans were unbelievable when you talk about the tribute for Diogo. So, but what happened over there is definitely, I didn't hear it. I only can say that that this should definitely not happen in a stadium.
And the club, as you say, have put out a statement saying that they condemn abuse in any form. And I know that it's with the police, so there's a limit to what can now be said.
Yeah.
As you said, that we could have been talking about a fantastic game, and we will talk about what was a fantastic game. You take all 3 points from it. Were you happy with everything that you saw out there?
I think it was a great game to watch, and this is why football. This is what football makes so great. 3 parties involved that wanted to play a very nice game. Us, Bournemouth, and the referee. So high tempo, no time wasting, no diving. Just keep on playing. This is what football makes so nice. 2-0 up, going 2-2, because they just kept on going after 2-0 down. It's a big compliment for them not to give up, but just keep on fighting. And then we did the same after we conceded the 2-2. And not only we, our fans were at that moment of time. And even before the game, during the You Never Walk Alone and the tribute for Diogo, the banner they had, altogether it should be about that. But the game of football was also impressive in my opinion.
Yeah, very impressive game of football. Was you always convinced that Liverpool were going to take 3 points from that game?
No, because we played them last season here when we were 3-0 up. They just kept on going. They were in every stat, running stat, very high last season, and you could see today again. We, by the way, as well, but you could see today again how fit this team we faced was and never gave up. Because you can talk about rest defense, but I think the moment we lost the ball in both situations, the rest defense was in order. But the pace they have, the tempo they sprinted all the way, it was a 4v2, I think, on this side. That's also credits to them. But like I said, they faced a team that's really fit as well and never gives up. We've lost many players during the summer, but we didn't lose our mentality.
I'm really interested in that point, because I've heard you make it in almost every interview that you've given, because you're asked so often about the players who've come in, but you're always at pains to emphasise the players who've gone over the summer.
Not always, because it's only the second day I have an interview, I think.
Yeah, I've seen a couple.
But yeah, everybody is asking me the same question. Yeah, you have a lot of new players. Yeah, reality is we've lost a lot of players as well. I think we even lost more than we got. But it's normal if you bring such a talented players in. And you've already won the league last season, that everybody's talking about that. But yeah, if you normally, when it was 2-2, I think these two know which player I was looking at that moment of time. I would have loved to bring Diogo Jota in, but now I couldn't for terrible reasons. But now the fans and the players that were still there did what he did so many times for us in the past.
And I can ask you just mentioned rest defence there, and it's been a problem in the pre-season, in the Community Shield, and here today. I think what stood out for me watching your Liverpool team last season was how much control you had in games, and I very rarely saw end-to-end games. I feel like I'm seeing that today and in the Community Shield. Is that a worry for you? Because there's a lot of attacking talent on the pitch now that maybe wasn't there as much last season.
Not that we bring more bodies in front of the ball, maybe, but we do have players that are looking maybe for a final pass or a difficult solution in the end phase of an attack a little bit more, because they also have these passes than we had last season. And probably I'm not talking about a player we lost, but I do talk about a player that was not available last week and not this week, and that's Ryan Gravenberch, who was last season very, very important in these moments as well. So with McAllister only being back 2 or 3 weeks in pre-season, Maka will be fitter again. And we need to find a better balance in taking the risk, because against Palace we've lost 2 or 3 simple balls that led to counter-attacks. Where here we lost in the 2-1, we lost the ball with a trick as well, where Dominic wanted to do a trick.
Could you believe what you were seeing? I mean, I was up on commentary, maybe even got a better view than yourself. I think there was 7 or 8 players in the box when the score was a 2-1. Are you sort of encouraging that, or would you be furious with that?
No, depends on where the players of the opposition are. If they are standing over here at the halfway line, it would be stupid for us to be there with 7. But if they go with all players back in their own 18-yard box, we need to have a rest defence in order to be close.
Say that worries me a little bit.
What?
When you say that's the team that we are, with so many bodies going forward. Am I allowed to say that? Sorry, boss.
No, you're allowed to say this. But then you need to support a team that's going to play with 11 players in their own box. I prefer to see this. But I prefer even more to see not being counter-attacked. That I agree on. But I like it that our players like to play football. And I think last season we were a joy to watch. Like, for example, Paris Saint-Germain, who do similar things like this.
Arne, to be honest with you, I think it's a breath of fresh air in the sense of how I see the game should be played. It's how we used to play. I quite often last year said that football was becoming quite formulaic, where players weren't free. It felt like they were being sort of like coached like robots to say, you must pass it here, you must pass it there. So when I see that tonight, I feel like that's really exciting. Obviously, sometimes you will concede goals doing that. Is this how you're going to play for the rest of the season? Because I think that it's going to be thrilling to watch Liverpool if it is.
Yeah, we will try. Although we want to do better in the transition moments, of course. But it's also then, if Mo would have had a shot on goal that went over, or a corner kick, is not a problem. So where do you lose a ball is crucial as well. The moment how Dominic Szoboszlai lost the ball with a trick, that is not smart in that moment of time. But we will fine-tune even more these counter-attacks, hopefully, but we will work on that definitely. But we do want to stay the team that is a joy to watch offensively, and we're not a team, if we're 2-0 up, we're going to go with 10 men in our own box. That's not who we are.
You substituted both your fullbacks, Carragher and Frimpong. What was you just thinking behind that at that moment in the game?
I'm looking for the English word, but that wasn't out of luxury. That was because Jeremy Frimpong felt his hamstring at half-time and made a lot of sprints.
He was doing quite well, wasn't he?
He was doing quite well, but the other fullback, Conor Bradley, is already injured with a hamstring injury, so you don't want to take the risk of another fullback, lose another fullback. Then you could argue, why don't you play Joe Gomez there? But I just said he only had 2 sessions in pre-season, so he wasn't able to play half an hour, so we started with Wata, and our left fullback, Milos Kerkez, is a player that I think the fans like, because in every duel he goes all in. But when you have a yellow card already and you play Semenyo, that's kind of a risk. Yeah. And if you have Robertson as a backup, then that was the reason for those two. And Hugo Ekitike came later in pre-season, has to adapt from, I think I can say that Liverpool is a bigger club than Frankfurt. And the league is probably more intense as well. So for him to be able to play 70 is already a big bonus after being 2 or 3 weeks here. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment, because we lost some players.
You need more players, Arne.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
So does that mean there's more to come in the transfer window?
I'm not saying we need more. I'm only saying that everybody's only talking they added. No, we didn't add. Till now, we only replaced. And you never know what's going to happen in the window. We do already signed one with Leone.
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
Arne, I will say, when we came here this evening, I didn't think you'd get support from this corner and criticism from that corner.
It's not
but
criticism,
that's the way.
it's constructive.
Kelly, he played under Rafa Benitez. He had 4 defensive field players that never moved. He had 8 behind the ball every week.
And won the most famous Champions League final of all time.
Listen,
and I spoke to Benitez and he said that's only...
Thank you. And it is job done as far as getting the result is concerned. Whether you two have concerns about Jamie, how the setup is and how that might look as the season goes on, or Gary, whether it's the kind of football that you played and that you enjoy watching, it is a style of football that clearly Arne Slot is going to be playing with Liverpool.
I get Carragher's point, because they're going to go to Newcastle, they're going to go and play Arsenal here in a few weeks, and you can't obviously be that open at times. But because Liverpool have got such a punch, if you just throw punches and go punch for punch with a lot of teams, you'll win most of your matches. And go and risking to win games. I mean, they had 7 or 8 players in the box at 2-1. If that's 3-1, you say that's brilliant. That's what we want to see. And I was so critical at times last season of seeing teams recycle the ball where they were basically sort of didn't know how to go forward. So when I watch a team like that runs forward, that passes forward, that commits players, that's got 2 full-backs forward, that leaves 2-on-2 at the back, that to me is a thrill. That's what the Premier League is. Now, I know that ultimately when we're talking about tactical football, later on in the season we would be critical if Liverpool lost the league playing like that. But I think at this point in the season, I think you're okay to be able to do that. And I think they obviously have to sort it out in bigger games. And they've obviously got players to come back. So I don't want to be too critical of it, because I think it does... I reminisce and think that that's how we would play. We would commit, we would risk, we would try and thrill at all times in the games and score more goals. And at 2-1, you don't sit back. And that's what I think Liverpool have done tonight. But I can see why you're slightly worried. But let's see how they do against Newcastle and Arsenal. That would be a bigger test, I think. Which
are coming up very shortly for Liverpool. And of course, we'll be bringing you that game between Newcastle and Liverpool. Might well be an interesting one, given the transfer speculation. He talked about Giovanni Leone, who has come into the club. He's a young defender, young Italian defender, and is one for the future. But Arne Slot talking about him as very much part of that Liverpool squad.
How far away is he?
But who will be Liverpool's
4'3"
main rival? We'll discuss that next.
Enjoy every minute here. Sorry.
It's all right.
and that's amazing stadium. You know, the fans at the end when we was at 2-2, they push so much even on the bench. I enjoy. I wanted to be in the crowd. So it's just amazing. But as I say, this is the first game. We have so much to do to get better and to reach our goals.
Well, the crowd certainly have taken to you. I know you wanted to be in there, but I think they would have been delighted for you to be there as well. You are the Premier League player of the match. I've got the...
Wow.
I don't know, you won't have seen these before, but they're really impressive.
Yeah, no, it's nice.
I don't know where you want to put it, but there is your Premier League player of the match award. Yeah, not bad for a Premier League debut.
No, it's can do better, I think, but it's great. I want more.
Hugo, thank you so much.
Thank
really
you.
good of you to come out and talk to us. I can take that for you. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Well done. Yeah.
It's really interesting to hear from him on his all-round performance, and he was harsh on himself, talking about improving, but he's been an instant hit, and those 2 goals that were he did that as his celebration, those 2 goals in the Community Shield and then again here in his debut at Anfield endear him to the crowd, aren't they? If you're going to come in as a striker, that'll do it.
Yeah, it will endear him to the crowd, but also to his teammates as well, and also give that lad confidence. I mean, the first time I've ever been in his company, but he feels you can see he's a young lad. He's just the way he's at Anfield, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and I've actually felt a little bit sorry for him with all the talk around Isak, and that's why I've been a little bit sort of not outspoken, but it's easy to just say, "Oh, go and get Isak." What does it mean for him? You know, and you don't want to ask him the question and put him on the spot, but I mean, there's talk about him playing on the left, but he looks like that's his position. He's a centre forward. He likes to drop deep, he likes to get on the ball. He's probably not going to be a centre forward who's going to be backing into defenders and sort of going up against them. He's got a slight frame, so we need to sort of get away from him and take them into wide areas. So for me, he's made a brilliant start. He's not as good as Isak, of course. He's not. He's 4 or 5 years younger than him. But I'm sure Liverpool, when they bought him, are thinking this fella could grow into one of the top strikers in world football. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just really interesting now what Liverpool do in terms of the attacking players that they bring in, because they have to bring attacking players in. But that will do him the world of good, and also give players the confidence, and maybe even supporters the confidence that it's not all about Isak, and if you don't get him, it's the end of the world. You might have someone pretty special up front already.
I know you said they need to bring attacking players in, but you've been saying for a while they need to bring more defenders in at Liverpool, and certainly Liverpool's defence could be questioned for the 2 goals that brought Bournemouth back into it. But I want to focus, before we do that, on Antoine Semenyo and how good he was for both of these goals, Gary.
It was outstanding, and it was down this side of Liverpool, this left. I think it's a brilliant ball into the box. Semenyo was fantastic in terms of that opposite wide player. You just see him there in the top of the picture. Konate's out of position. He gets caught in that channel. Van Dijk's just a little bit deeper, which isn't usually. He usually plays a really high line. He could have stepped up a yard or 2 more. But Semenyo's pace to get into that back post as the opposite wide player is outstanding, and he was fantastic in this game tonight. What a real threat. And Bournemouth deserved it. They did a lot of very good things. I thought when the substitution was made and Endo went to right back, Liverpool really struggled for about 15-20 minutes, and that's when most of the defensive problems came. This is obviously just a big counter-attack.
I mean, that's unbelievable looking at that. I mean, Arne Slot's made those changes initially to make sure things like this don't happen. Well, fantastic from Semenyo, but Liverpool have had this problem. You continue. I mean, look how many players there for Liverpool. Maybe 8 players ahead of the ball when you're winning 2-1. I mean, it's that can't happen. It's absolutely shocking at this level. And Semenyo, I mean, to run that far and then get your shot away is brilliant. But where Konate's going, I mean, he had a really, really poor night tonight, the Liverpool centre-back. But and Liverpool supporters in the stadium will be delighted tonight, you know, that singing the Chiesa song. Salah gets the last-minute goal. That is not right. It's not. It's only one game into the season, the Community Shield. I'm telling you, I've watched enough football in my life. This idea that everyone bombs forward, you got all, but it was how easy it was for Crystal Palace to get at Liverpool. How easy it was tonight. In the first half, Bournemouth should have probably been 2-0 up at one stage. And there's definitely a problem that Arne Slot has to solve. And it's not just about, people say, oh, they need a centre-back. A centre-back doesn't fix that. He just takes Konate's place. He doesn't fix that. It's about the makeup of the team. 2 attacking full-backs. So number 10 now is more interested in getting on the ball than maybe defending like Szoboszlai was last season. So I think if Liverpool continue like that, and that's sort of the Liverpool this season, I don't think Liverpool will win the league.
We may well come back to talk about Liverpool's defence, but important to put Antoine Semenyo's performance, particularly in the second half, in context, because in the first half of the game it was paused for a couple of minutes because Antoine Semenyo